So now what we're going to do is start furnishing this room. And I'm going to start by placing a statue in there. So I'm going to use this Temples and Statues catalog here. It's asking us which one we would prefer to use. And I've just chosen the first one. And let's just scroll down till we find a nice spooky statue. There we go. Let's use the demon statue, evil. Now, obviously we want to rotate this in some direction. There's a couple of ways of rotating. You can use the arrow keys to rotate, or you can hold the shift key and rotate manually. In this case, because I want it facing the door, I'm just going to use the arrow keys. There we go, and I'm going to place him right smack there. So there's our big bad evil monster. The other thing that I want in here is a pool. Now, I believe that there's a couple of different ways of getting the pool in there. I think it's in this catalog here. Magic and Elements. There it is. There's the large fountain. That's what I want. Now, whoa, way too large. So how am I going to get that smaller? Well, it's simple. You right click and then you can change this. I'm going to drop this down by 0.75. Click on more. That's about what I wanted, and I'm going to place it smack in the middle of the room. So we now have our statue, we now have our pool, and if I redraw this, you'll actually see that Campaign Cartographer is smart enough to put the shadowing in there as well, so it's looking really nice. The next thing I want to do is something a little bit special, and this is going to enable you to see how you can really customize your sheets and layer effects to just what you want. I want to have water running out of this room, spilling out from a fountain. So to do that, I'm going to use this function here, default water. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to choose a fairly light water, this one, and I'm just going to make a drizzle of water all the way around the room from the fountain. There you go. As you can see, there's my big blobby shape of the water running out. If I redraw it, you can now see the water. Now, quite frankly, I think that looks horrible. And the reason for it is water doesn't have a soft edge, and it's also translucent, and it's not here. And that's because the layer that it's been placed down on doesn't have any special effects to handle that sort of transparency and soft edges. Let's give it that now. So I'm going to save my map. Always important to keep saving your maps. And then I'm going to click on the Sheets and Effects. I'm going to look for a water sheet. There it is. There's my water layer. And if I click on it, you can see that there's no special effects. You can see with the walls there's a bit of a glow. Sorry, with the floors there's a bit of a glow. With the walls there's this directional shadow. But with water there's nothing. I'm going to add a special effect to it. I'm going to click on Add. And I'm going to use this wonderfully powerful special effect in here called Edge Fade Inner. Now, some people have written to me, in fact, quite a few people have written to me, said, I don't have the Edge Fade Inner special effect filter. And I'm going, the reason for that is you've not applied the latest patches. Some of these filters are actually in later patches from your install. So if you don't see this, please go to the Pro Fantasy website, log in, download the latest patch, I think it's 10 or 11 or something, and apply it. And you'll almost certainly have the edge filter. If you don't, write to Pro Fantasy and they'll tell you how to get it up. It's pretty useful. So the edge width is how far the special effect goes from the edge. Now it's currently set to 8 feet, way too much for us. I'm going to set it just to 2. In fact, I'm going to set it even less than that. I'm going to set it to 1.2 feet. So make it quite small. The inner opacity is currently 100%. That's too high. For water, I think maybe at best 75%. But the outer opacity is 0, so we go from nothing to 75% transparency. If we click on this, OK, click on OK, and you look at that and go, big deal, it didn't change anything. That's because the water has currently been placed on the wrong sheet. It's currently, if we click on the Change Properties tool, we click on it, then click Do It, and it's also on the sheet of floors. So we want to change that to being on the water sheet, and we also want to change the layers to being on, let's make that just floors. Click on OK. And now when we redraw, you see lovely, lovely soft shadowy lines. Very distinct water pool, but now nice and soft edges. Fantastic. So we're certainly getting there now. Let's start putting in some traps, because that's really what this is all about. How do I get traps in there? So the first trap I'm going to do is, well, the first thing that we're going to do is look up our traps, and you can see that the trap catalog is here. Click on Simple, Traps. Now the trap catalog is not the catalog I'm looking for, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually select that catalog by clicking on this button here, and then going to Dungeons, Dungeon Designer 3, Color Dungeons, and I'm going to select Traps. Open. And you can now see that I've got these lovely color traps here. The first thing I'm going to have is that I want my statue to shoot a huge blast of fire at them, and I'm actually going to have it, yeah, that one there. I'm going to rotate my map around to get it just right. I'm going to put it right on there. So that's one trap. I'd like another trap. I want to put a spiked pit in front of the door. So let's see what we've got in the way of pits and traps and things. Scroll down. Oh, there's one. There's a lovely spiked pit. So I'm going to take him and I'm going to pop him right there. Now, the description that GM could say when they're actually playing this game is that you'll see that the water seems to be seeping into the floor slightly, and then that would give them a hint that there's a trap there. That's looking pretty good so far. Now the question is, how as a GM do you turn the traps on and off during the game? So here's what you do. We're going to create 2 new layers. I'm going to click on Symbols here, and I'm going to have the first one. So I'm going to go Add a new layer, and I'm going to call this Trap 1. And then I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to call it Trap 2. 1 and 2. Click on OK. And what I will then do is change properties, and I'll select my first trap, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to change it to Trap 1. And then I'm going to take my second trap. Now I've accidentally selected the statue, so I'm going to hold the Control key and unselect them. So now you can see I've just got one item selected. And then I'm going to go do it, and I'm going to make him go onto the Traps 2 layer. So far so good. That actually doesn't help us very much. What this now means is that at any time during play, as a GM, I can simply go show me or hide me using the hide buttons here. Hide Trap 1 and Trap 2. Click on OK. They're hidden. If I want to bring Trap 2 into play, or Trap 1 into play rather, I just unhide it, and there he is. Nice and simple. So that's how you can get some interactivity on the maps. Actually, the GM could render these out as separate maps as well, with things hidden or not hidden, but that's actually up to the GM about how they would actually physically like to bring that into the gameplay. For the moment, though, I'm going to have both of these as hidden. Something else that's a very, very important thing to have available on your maps is hidden rooms. So I'm actually going to create another small room. I'm going to make it just a cobblestone room. And I'm going to have it just tucked away in the corner here. In order to do this, I need to change my grid settings. So I'm going to right-click on grid. Currently you can see it's set to 5 foot 2 snaps. I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to make it 5 foot 4 snaps. So I'll change its name. I'm going to make the snap divisions 4, but I'm going to leave the spacing as 5 foot. And the reason I do that is so I can just squeeze in a little room there. Then I'm going to right-click on my floors, select my cobblestones, there you go. So there's our cobblestone room. I need to put a wall around it, so I'm going to click on the wall. I'm going to use the same stonework that I used before. redrawn. Great. Now we've got a lovely side room there. Now, unfortunately, that's going to print out on every map. We don't want that. We want the ability to hide it. So how do we do that? It's really, really simple. Again, we'll use layers. And you'll actually see that there is an existing layer here called GM only, Game Master only. We could use that, or we could be very explicit and create another layer, and we could call this secret room. So, click on OK, and what I'm going to do is use the change command to make sure, whoops, the change command here to make sure that all of that is indeed going to be selected. Do it. The layer is secret rooms. And now, if I redraw, you have the ability to, just as you did with the traps, to turn off and on your secret rooms by clicking on the hide button there. So there you go. You now have a map with some wonderful effects. So you've learned how to use sheets to create special effects like the water. You've also learned to use layers to enable you to organize things so that you can automatically switch them off and on. You've learned how to create custom floor designs rather than just using the standard square floor designs of most mapping tools. And you've got a great dungeon ready to rock and roll. What more could you want?